You guys that's been on my channel for a while, you already know that I'm going to talk about this bait because I absolutely slay fish during the winter with this bait. It's one of those techniques where, you know, you could go one day and it just kind of be very, very slow with the jerk bait, and you know, you got to include that 10, 15, 20-second pause that is very annoying and very dull. It's kind of like watching paint dry, but when they bite it, they got it. But some days during these colder months, you can take this jerk bait and absolutely slay fish on areas like pinch points, like bridges that come to a close that these fish have to travel through to get backs up in creeks, back up in pockets, up on flats and things like that. You can take this bait and work it pretty quickly. You know, you can include, you know, like 6-second pauses or something like that, and a lot of times get a lot of strikes off of it. But this time of year I like going with 2 different jerk baits. I like the KBD, and then I also, or the Strike King KBD series, and then I also like the Thunderhawk / crankbaits. Both have a very lazy, lethargic movement, and that's typically what I'm going to look for. I want something to look lazy and lethargic because we're dealing with cold water. We're dealing with 50 or below degree water temps. So something lethargic, something slow that looks very, very natural can trigger a lot of bites. Now sunny, like we got some sunshine today, clear water, I like something chrome with, you know, some type of gold or some silver or something like that, something flashy that they can see from a distance. Now a lot of times you'll notice, depending on your water clarity, that a lot of these fish and a lot of bait fish will kind of dull out. Their colors will start kind of dull, you know, they just kind of look a little dingy. When this happens, I like going to more of the translucent colors. So something like a Pro Blue, or something that, you know, you can kind of see through the bait, something that's not as shiny, not something that's not as loud, something a lot more natural. But making them able to see the bait from a long ways away is going to trigger a ton more bites, and you know, just mess around with it. Danny from over at Fish North Georgia, he talks about using a jerk bait, and he says that a lot of times he has luck reeling this bait. I've never had luck reeling the bait specifically, but I've never tried it day in and day out to see how well it works. So, you know, try multiple different things with the jerk bait. It is a wonderful tool this time of year that you can use up against bluff walls, up on flats, anywhere you want to. It's really just triggering that depth zone. So how I decide on what jerk bait I'm going to use is where I see these bait fish and where the bass are positioning. If I see the bass positioning at 20 foot, then I typically want a jerk bait to run somewhere around that 10 to 15 foot, depending on where I see the shad. So if I see the shad cruising 10 to 15 foot and I see the bass sitting 20 to 25 foot, then I know I need to get a jerk bait down to that level.